The untold true story of the most disciplined man in America. What if the strongest man in America was once the weakest boy in the room? What if discipline is not born, but built through pain? And what if everything you believe about limits is only a story you tell yourself? Tonight, we begin the untold true story of the most disciplined man in America. If this story speaks to you, stay with us. And if you believe the human mind is stronger than we think, let us know in the comments below. Like and subscribe to my channel. David Goggins was born in 1975 in Buffalo, New York. A cold city. Heavy snow. Long winters. From the outside, his childhood looked normal. But inside his home, life was different. His father owned a roller skating rink. Bright lights. Loud music. Crowds laughing. But behind closed doors, there was fear. As a young boy, he worked late nights at the skating rink, cleaning floors, serving customers, staying quiet. He was only a child. But the nights were long. Mistakes were not allowed. He learned something early. Silence was safer than speaking. If you are watching and you have ever felt small, stay with this story. It may change how you see your past. School was not easier. He struggled to read. Words moved too fast. Lessons felt heavy. Other children raised their hands. He looked down at his desk. He felt behind. He felt ashamed. And when a child feels ashamed long enough, he begins to believe he is broken. But he was not broken. He was untrained. There is a difference. If you believe discipline can be learned, consider subscribing. Part 2 will reveal what most people never see. Eventually, his mother left. They escaped the violence. They moved away from Buffalo. But leaving a house does not remove the fear inside. Fear travels with you. It sits quietly, waiting. And for many years, that fear shaped his choices. Years passed. The boy grew up. But discipline did not grow with him. He became overweight. Nearly 300 pounds. Working as a pest control worker. Spraying for insects in dark buildings. Living day to day. No plan. No belief. One night, he looked in the mirror. And he did not recognize the man staring back. That moment changed everything. In part 1, we have seen the fear. Next, we will see the decision. And that decision will begin the making of the most disciplined man in America. Stay with us. The 1980s and 1990s. America was powerful. But many families were struggling. Factories were closing. Neighborhoods were changing. Some children grew up with guidance. Others grew up alone. David Goggins was one of them. He was no longer a boy. But he was not yet a man. Inside him, fear still lived. And fear, when ignored, grows stronger. If you are watching from the United States, the United Kingdom, or anywhere in the world, tell us where you are listening from. Stories like this connect us all. By his early 20s, he felt stuck. He worked in pest control. Entering dark buildings. Spraying for insects. Long hours. Little pride. He weighed nearly 300 pounds. His dreams were small. His confidence was smaller. Many people reach this point. A place where comfort feels safer than change. But comfort can quietly destroy potential. He knew something had to shift. He just did not know how. Then one night, he saw a television program about the United States Navy SEALs. Men in cold water. Men who refused to quit. Men who chose pain on purpose. He looked at them. Then he looked at himself. The mirror did not lie. He was overweight, undisciplined, afraid. That night, he made a decision. Not to be inspired, but to be transformed. If this moment feels familiar to you, pause and ask yourself one question. What are you avoiding? He tried to join the Air Force, but even basic requirements were hard. He struggled with swimming. He lacked conditioning. He faced doubt from others. Doubt can feel heavier than weight. But instead of quitting, he studied harder. He trained alone, late at night, in silence. This was the beginning of discipline. Not glory. Not recognition. Just quiet repetition. If you respect that kind of effort, consider subscribing. Part 2 will reveal how far this discipline goes. He learned he had 3 months. 3 months to lose nearly 100 pounds. Most people would say it was impossible. He did not ask if it was possible. He asked what it required. He ran for hours. He changed his diet. He trained through pain. Blisters formed. Bones ached. But the weight dropped. Piece by piece. Discipline is not dramatic. It is daily. And slowly, the man in the mirror began to change. He qualified. He entered BUD/S training. Basic underwater demolition. The path to becoming a Navy SEAL. Cold ocean water. Little sleep. Endless drills. Men around him began to quit. Some rang the bell. 3 rings, and you are done. He felt the urge to stop. He quit once. Then shame followed him home. So he returned. Then injury forced him out. Again. Most people would read this as failure. He read it as unfinished business. On his 3rd attempt, he stayed. He endured. He finished. And that moment was not about strength. It was about identity. He had earned the title. United States Navy SEAL. The training was over. The suffering had meaning. Many men would stop there. They would celebrate. They would rest. But David Goggins did not feel finished. Because discipline, once awakened, does not sleep easily. He feared something. Not failure, but comfort. Comfort had once almost destroyed him. And he would not return to that life. He began asking a new question. What is the hardest thing a human can do? He discovered ultramarathons. Races longer than 100 miles. Across deserts. Through mountains. Without stopping. He had never run that far. He had not trained properly. But he signed up anyway. Not to win, but to test his limits. Some people run away from pain. He ran toward it. In 2005, he entered the San Diego One Day. A 24-hour race. Run as far as you can. He had not trained enough. By mile 70, his body began shutting down. His feet were broken. His kidneys were failing. He urinated blood. Most runners stopped. Doctors warned him. But he kept moving. Step by step by step. Not because it was wise, but because he needed to know. Who quits first? The body? Or the mind? If you believe the mind decides your limits, tell us below. His vision blurred. His body swelled. Each step felt impossible. He sat down. But sitting was not stopping. He stood again. When he finally finished, he could barely walk. He had pushed beyond reason. Beyond safety. Beyond logic. But something changed inside him. Pain no longer controlled him. He had faced it. And survived. He wanted another test. In 2013, he attempted a world record. Most pull-ups in 24 hours. The first attempt ended in injury. Hands torn. Muscles damaged. He tried again. And failed again. Most people would stop. He trained harder. On his third attempt, he completed 4,030 pull-ups in 17 hours. His palms were shredded. But he finished. Not to impress others, but to defeat the voice inside him that once said, "You are not enough." If this story inspires you, subscribe so you do not miss part 2. But the true battle was not public. It happened in silence. He called it the accountability mirror. Each morning, he stood before his reflection and told himself the truth. No excuses. No blame. No comfort. Only responsibility. He believes discipline is not motivation. Motivation fades. Discipline remains. It is doing what must be done, even when you do not feel like doing it. That idea began to spread. Across America. Across the world. But extreme discipline has consequences. And in Chapter 4, we will see the cost. For years, he pushed beyond pain, beyond exhaustion, beyond reason. But the human body keeps score. Stress fractures formed. Bones cracked under pressure. His kidneys had already suffered. His heart began to show warning signs. In 2010, doctors discovered a serious heart condition. A hole between the upper chambers. Atrial septal defect. It had been there since birth. Silent. Waiting. Years of extreme endurance had forced it into the open. Doctors told him to slow down. To rest. To think long-term. For many people, this would be the end of extreme discipline. But for David Goggins, it was a confrontation. Not with weakness, but with mortality. He underwent heart surgery. A device implanted to correct the defect. Recovery required patience. Stillness. Listening to doctors. And that may have been harder than any ultramarathon. Because when your identity is built on pushing forward, slowing down feels like surrender. But discipline is not only about intensity. It is about control. Control sometimes means restraint. He trained again. Carefully. Methodically. Not to prove something, but because movement was part of who he had become. If you are still watching, ask yourself quietly, is your discipline balanced? Or is it escape? Because sometimes, the hardest thing to face is not the race in front of you. It is the silence inside you. Discipline builds strength. But extreme discipline can build walls. Over the years, his personal life suffered. Marriage strain. Emotional distance. Isolation. When you train yourself not to feel pain, you sometimes train yourself not to feel anything. He has spoken openly about this. About missed moments. About relationships that did not survive the intensity of his lifestyle. Because the same drive that helps a man endure 100 miles can make him difficult to live with. This is the part many documentaries do not show. Not the medals. Not the records. But the loneliness. Success often looks powerful from the outside. But inside, it can be quiet. Heavy. Solitary. And yet, he did not pretend to be perfect. He admitted flaws. He admitted growth is ongoing. Discipline, he says, is not about being better than others. It is about being honest with yourself. And honesty is uncomfortable. If you respect that kind of truth, tell us below. Because growth without honesty is only performance. And performance eventually collapses. In 2018, he released a book, Can't Hurt Me. It became a bestseller across the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany, Australia. Millions read his story. Not because he was perfect, but because he was honest. He spoke about childhood trauma, about racism he faced, about fear, about failure, and about responsibility. Young athletes listened. Business leaders listened. Military members listened. Ordinary people listened. They did not see a superhero. They saw a possibility. He told them something simple. You are capable of more than you think. But capability demands effort. Daily effort. Uncomfortable effort. That message resonated. And yet, the question remains. Is extreme discipline freedom? Or is it armor? Does it heal the past? Or protect us from it? In Part 1, we have seen the making of the most disciplined man in America. From fear, to transformation, to endurance, to consequence. But in Part 2, we will go deeper. Into the mental battles few people understand. Into near collapse. Into reinvention. And into the true cost of living without excuses. If this story moved you, like this video. Share it with someone who needs strength. And subscribe so you do not miss Part 2. Because the hardest chapter has not yet been told.